Malik Majed. I'm a senior in computer science, and I worked on the front end.
I'm Sam Ebert. I'm a junior in computer science, and I worked on the data entry.
I'm Yichuan. I'm a senior, and I worked on the back end.
And we're in Lab 201, Group 7, and this is our guided project demo video. iTrust2 is a site where healthcare workers can access important patient information, and patients are also able to edit said information. However, currently patients are unable to report nutrition information to their healthcare providers. With our new food diary functionality, patients will be able to report daily food consumption, and healthcare providers will also be able to track their patients' basic healthcare metrics in order to make better decisions about prescriptions.
To implement the food diary functionality, we use the Angular, HTML, CSS, and JavaScript in the front end, as well as Cucumber and Selenium for testing. In the back end, we use the Java Hibernate for database management and Maven for package management and the Spring for HTTP functionality.
We'll now begin to provide a demo of the new food diary functionality in the iTrust2 system. We currently see the login page for iTrust2, so we'll log in as patient Alice13 and enter the default password. And we log in and see this welcome page with a history of our login attempts. And we'll then navigate to the drop-down to reach the food diary. And we see that it currently gives us a message that there are no current food diary entries, as we haven't added any yet. So it gives us an option to return to the main page, or to add a new food entry. So we'll select to add a new food entry, and we see this page with the form to add entry information. So we see the date. We'll enter the value of 10/19/2018, which is a recent date. We'll choose a type of breakfast, a food name of eggs. We'll use a number of servings of 2, with 30 calories per serving, 2 grams of fat per serving, 3 milligrams of sodium per serving, 1 of carbs, 2 of sugar, 4 of fiber, and 5 of protein. And we see down here that we have the 3 buttons to submit the entry, to clear fields, and to return to the page of food diaries without adding the entry. So we submit the entry, and we see that this information is reflected in this screen. So all of its fields are there, and they're also computed into the total based on the number of servings that were consumed. And the total is shown highlighted in a color. And it has all of the information times the number of servings. So we'll navigate to add a new entry, and we'll this time enter an invalid date. So for an invalid date, we'll choose 10/23/2020. This is invalid because we're not allowed to have dates in the future. We choose a type of lunch and a food name of salmon. And we decide to use a number of servings of -1, which is invalid. We have 2 calories per serving, which is valid, 2 grams of fat per serving, -1 milligrams of sodium, which is invalid, -100 grams of carbs, which is invalid, 2 grams of sugar, 2 of fiber, and 4 of protein. And when we try to submit this, we'll get some errors. We see up here that the date is restricted to current or past dates, which is invalid since 2020 is in the future. We also see that servings must be a positive value, and that sodium must be a 0 or positive value, and the same error is found for carbs. And that same error would exist for any of these fields. So we select to clear the fields, and the form is cleaned, and we enter some valid information, 10/19/2018, which is a valid date. We use a type of lunch, a food name of salmon. We decide to do 2 servings with 20 calories per serving, 12 grams of fat per serving, 2 of sodium, 3 of carbs, 4 of sugar, 5 of fiber, and 8 of protein. And this is all valid, so we shouldn't have any issue submitting this. And when we do submit this, we see that it gets added to the page here. And we select to add a third entry. We decide to use a different date this time, so we'll choose 10/20/2018. We decide to use a food type of dinner. We name the food meat. We decide to use 3 servings with 40 calories per serving, 2 grams of fat per serving, 3 milligrams of sodium, 4 carbs, 5 sugar, 6 fiber, and 4 protein. And we submit this.
So now we have the view of the food diary, and the most recent food is shown first with the 10/20 date, and you'll see what they had for dinner. And we'll also show the totals for the calories for each, for all the servings. And then you'll see the second entry of the 10/19 days of the breakfast and lunch of eggs and salmon, and the total shown for that day. So each day is separated by this total column. And now we choose to log out and go to the healthcare provider view. And once we navigate to this view, you'll also see the same login information. And then in the top left, you'll be able to go to the patient and food diaries. And now you'll see all the patients that are subscribed to this healthcare provider. If we choose Alice 13, you'll see that same view that we saw earlier with all of their food diary entries and the totals for each day. And then we can select another patient, Billy Bob, and you'll see that he has no food diary entries, and which will be displayed here. And there's also functionality to search, so if we search for Alice 13, you'll be able to see that same page view. And finally, we'll go through a little bit of the code base, focusing on the API methods.
The API food entry controller class provides REST endpoints to deal with food diary entries by using get patient food entries and add an entry method. The get patient food entries is used by HCP and the patient to view all food diary entries of a specific patient. It takes the patient's name as a parameter and returns the food diary entries for this patient. The add an entry method is used only by the patient to add a food diary entry into the database, and it takes the food diary form as a parameter and return a food diary model. That's it.
In this video, we've provided an overview of our new functionality of a food diary in the iTrust2 system, giving a brief detail of its motivation, a walkthrough of its functionality, and a brief look inside the codebase. We believe this functionality can greatly improve the usage of iTrust2, as it will allow healthcare professionals to make more informed decisions about healthcare based on detailed nutrition information from patients.